Alright, so today I'm going to be doing a full breakdown of the HoverAir X1 Pro Max along with a beacon, and I'm going to be using the beacon standalone, so there's not going to be any joystick or phone, it's just going to be using the beacon itself. And in the video I'm also going to be including best positioning for the beacon along with real world tips to ensure you do get the best tracking capabilities from the Pro Max. And it's just to see how good it is when you do use it on single tracks and through wooded areas like these, because after all it's environments like these that are the most complex when it comes to tracking, and you don't want to use a full controller. You just want to use something that's quick and simple and reliable. And towards the end of the video there is going to be a montage of the tracks as well. And although I'm doing this all based around mountain biking, the same principles are going to apply whether or not you're using it for mountain biking, normal cycling, hiking or running. And before I get started, if it's your first time here, my name's Andrew, so if you could do the like, subscribe and the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated because it does help the channel out no end. So I did buy the HoverAir X1 Pro Max myself with my own money when it was first released, because I wanted a drone I could use specifically for mountain biking and for using in wooded areas, because as you can tell from my accent, I am Welsh and we do tend to have a lot of trees. So because of the way that the Pro Max is designed, with it being foldable, light and within a protective case, it was a no-brainer for me to go for this drone. And I thought then, as I do now, there is no other drone that can match it for speed, durability and its tracking capabilities. Now add to this the beacon and you've got a combination of hardware that I don't think that any other drone manufacturers can come close to matching, let alone beat. So I'm at the UK's top mountain bike centre close to where I live, called Argoed, and it offers 100 kilometres or around about 60 to 70 miles of the best purpose-built trails and single tracks in the world. So I plan to use the HoverAir X1 and the beacon and do some of the red runs like this one here, which is Big Dipper, just to see how well that they perform together. Now it will be mainly single tracks because these are going to deliver a mixture of forest scenery, panoramic views and descents. So I'm actually going to have the drone follow my 12th best mountain biking buddy, Hoo from Fishguard, because he's a much faster rider than me and it's going to put the drone through his paces. But before we go into that, I'll go through exactly what the beacon does. So first of all, the beacon is a compact modular controller designed to interact with the X1 Pro Max. And it acts as both a remote control and a tracking device, which is going to give you much more precise control, which will enable you to capture better footage. So it does have a 1.78 inch OLED screen, and that's going to be used for monitoring, along with a built-in microphone and speaker for recording audio and receiving feedback. Now one of its key purposes is improving tracking accuracy by using the HoverLink technology, and that allows the drone to follow you more precisely while extending the transmission range up to 1 kilometre. Now it can be used on its own or combined with 1 or 2 joysticks, offering a one-handed motion controller or a full-on two-handed remote control. But as I said, I'm going to be using it today as a standalone device. Plus, and this is one thing I really love about this, is that it's got a built-in dashboard feature, which allows you to automatically add the stats from your ride directly onto your footage. And this includes things like the duration, the distance, the speed, and also a map of the route so you can see exactly where you are. And that's going to be great for your Strava bragging rights. But remember, when you are using it as a standalone like I am today, it's not meant to fully fly the drone like a traditional controller. It's more about monitoring the ride, recording your stats, having some emergency control, and for having second-to-none tracking capabilities in the most difficult situations. So for mountain biking, that is perfect. Now when you power it on and connect, you're going to see that you've got a live feed, and this is your camera preview. It's low latency and it's not cinematic quality, so it's only for you whilst you're riding, mainly for framing and awareness. So the next thing you're going to have on the top line is going to be a list of icons, and the first one is going to be the microphone, and that's for the recording of audio, and that's just going to turn green when the microphone is recording. So next on the screen you're going to have the Omni-Terrain home point icon, and this will show a green H when the home point is set, but it may not actually happen until the drone's actually in flight. Next to that you've got the HoverLink icon, and this is probably the most important icon of all. Now to be fully working it needs to be completely green, so if it's fully green you're good to go. If it's half grey, then there's something wrong. It's either the drone can't see the sky, or it's the fact that the drone's not that well positioned. So you may need to move the position of the beacon just to make sure that you do have a good signal. So next to that, you're going to have the Omni-Terrain icon, and this is going to turn green when you have got the Omni-Link set up, and that's going to be shown on the beacon as well as on the drone. And then the last 2 icons are going to be the signal strength, the hover battery level, as well as the beacon battery level. And then on the bottom right, you're going to have the flight mode and the record indicator. So pressing the flight mode button is going to show you all the flight modes you've got available. And then if you swipe up, you can set all the parameters for that mode, and that's going to save you getting your phone out. And then once you've done that, you just need to swipe down to exit out of that screen. Plus, if you wanted to, you could also use the buttons on the drone itself, or use the high hover command to use the automated flight modes. So you can just things like high hover, cycling mode, and then that's going to tell the drone to go into that particular mode. And then on the bottom, even though we're not using joysticks, you still have the basic controller buttons. And these are more for positioning the drone when you want to do some manual flying or for safety. So the left button controls the pitch backwards and forwards, and the right button will control the roll left or right. And then you've got the function button, and that's going to also control the height. Now the function button also acts as your emergency brake and also the return to home button. So it's going to be a short press for stopping the drone and then a longer press for return to home. So a long press of 2 seconds will activate return to home. So the drone will also update the home point to the location of the beacon. So remember, when you do activate return to home, the drone is actually going to rise up. So you need to bear in mind your surroundings. And this is a massive thing when you are out and about, because you don't want the drone crashing into any trees. So when you are riding, if the drone does get confused, you need to hit that stop button immediately. Now when you do this, the drone is going to go into manual mode, and that means then that you can use the buttons to fly the drone safely back to you if you didn't want to use the actual return to home. And before I go any further, if you are finding it useful, if you could do the like, subscribe, notification and the hype button, that would be greatly appreciated, because it does help the channel out no end. And now the final part, just to make sure you have the last of the settings done correctly. So you need to swipe down, and this is going to take you into the settings for the beacon and the drone. Now when I set this up under the beacon, I like to have the sound recorder on just in case I do want to record any audio as I'm going along the trail. And then secondly, underneath that, I like to have the dashboard stats on. Now you don't have to do this, but it does mean that when you do your footage later on, you are able to overwrite the details directly onto the footage or not. It's entirely up to you. But from the way I look at it, it's better to have it on and not use it than to not have it on and miss out. Then under hover, you've got the unit of length, so you can choose meters or feet. It's entirely up to you. And then below that, you're going to have the find hover. Now this is there just in case you do happen to lose your drone, and it's going to assist you with the drone's last known location. Now it's either going to give you a map or a radar type screen, and this can be really useful, especially if you didn't notice where you actually lost the drone, because it's going to allow you to navigate back to the drone's last known position. Now on the Pro Max, there is a dedicated cycling mode, but there are a number of options you need to set on the drone too to make sure you do get the best from the drone. So the first one you want to do is to make sure that you swipe up once you've selected cycling mode, and make sure that the co-pilot system is on. You also want to make sure that the duration is set to continuous and not 30 seconds, because otherwise after 30 seconds the drone's going to stop and you're going to be halfway down the trail. And then the next few settings are going to be dependent on the type of riding and the trail that you're on. So for mountain biking, I always choose the narrow roads. And this is because the drone is going to mirror my movement, or Hugh Pugh's movement, a lot tighter, and it's going to handle the trails better with more accuracy. The distance I always set to close or to normal, because again, I think that's better for the environments that I tend to ride in, and I always use the altitude of flat. I only use high if I am out and about in wide open areas, but generally when I am riding single tracks, having it close and flat is the best option for me. Also make sure that you've got HoverLink Assist Follow is switched on, and that again is going to get the best capability from the drone. And if you are flying in open areas, you can use the open area mode, and you can adjust the height and the distance to suit you. But it will mean that the drone will move about more just to keep you in the centre of the frame. Also in the open area mode, you've got Smart Assist. Now with Smart Assist, what it does, if you're flying in a group and you overtake somebody, the drone will detect that person and it'll automatically rise up to pass them, and then it'll lower itself down. But you do need to be careful, because if you are flying in an environment where you've got, say, posts or trees or anything which is high up, because the drone hasn't got any active obstacle detection, you do run the risk of the drone crashing into that item. So I would use it sparingly, and when you know that the drone is going to be saved from crashing into any obstacles. Now, as I said at the start of the video, there are a few things you need to do to make sure you do get the best from the beacon and the drone. Firstly, where you mount the beacon is going to be important. For mountain biking or cycling, although you can use a wrist strap or a chest mount, you will get a better signal and better results if you do mount the beacon actually on the handlebars of your bike. And always make sure that it is facing forward and visible. And as I said, this matters because it actually helps with the tracking signal between the drone and the beacon. You can also swipe on the beacon, and that's going to show you the actual stats as you're riding. But remember that you don't want to be touching the beacon constantly. So just clip it on and glance at it occasionally and let it do its thing. You're going to hear the drone behind you anyway, so you're going to know if it runs into any problems. The drone is designed to be autonomous, so it honestly works best when it's just left to do its own thing. And then the last few things you do need to remember when you are riding. If you ride smoother, you're going to get better footage. Try and keep a constant speed, and don't try to outrun the drone, because there is no point. You got the drone there for a reason, and that's to film you. All you're going to achieve if you try and outrun it is that you're going to have your footage ruined. Now, I will be honest with you, and you need to remember this, that in tight, fast or technical trails with trees, jumps or fast descents, the drone may struggle to keep up with you and may lose the tracking sometimes. But that is just the current state of tech today. Now, I have flown a number of drones over the years for mountain biking, but the combination of using the Pro Max along with the Beacon has always given me the best tracking results, and they've always been consistently good. So now that I've covered the drone and the Beacon, the next part is we're going to have the drone follow Hoopoo along this track as well as some of the others, just to see exactly how well it does. So if there is anything else you want to see in relation to the Hover X1 Pro or Pro Max, or you got any questions in relation to the Beacon, let me know in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them, and I'll catch you again next time. But thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, so Hoopoo from Fishguard has just come down the tracks. Didn't have any issues whatsoever. The Beacon and the drone really performed excellently. If you did find it useful, if you could do the like, subscribe, notification and the hype, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you've got any questions in relation to any of the hover drones, the Pro or the Pro Max or the Beacon, also let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you again next time. Thanks very much and bye.